You can kind of tell that black is a theme. So I'm preparing collection equipment for up on the hill. Collection materials, that is. You see that this is a black 55-gallon drum. And the reason it has to be black is so that no light gets into the barrel and starts to grow algae. Because I do want this to be a potable, capable system, and algae just causes problems otherwise. So I'm going to cut the top out with, what are these called? Saber saw. So I'm going to cut the top out with a saber saw, and then I'm going to clean up the edge with my router with a flush trim bit with a top bearing. Remember, Grandma, you got me this a few years ago? Thank you. I don't know if that's long enough. Oh yeah, it's long enough. But I think I need a bottom bearing the way this lip is. No, we'll do it with this. This will work okay. Except I'm getting between this ring here is separate from the barrel, and I'm getting between it here with the saw. I'll just get a bottom bearing bit. Okay, let's do this again. This will work. Plug it in first. Okay, that's a nice clean cut. It's a little bit thicker on two edges where the bung was, but that's okay.
You can see all of the chips in there from the plastic that I cut out.
There we go, all cleaned out. And there's no more residual smell. So, good now. Another thing that I have to do is get some sort of collection weir, and the best thing to use is the wall of a barrel. You might recognize this specific color of barrel from a previous project. I had two of them. They were both free on the side of the road. So here's the other one. On the bottom side, well, top side, you know, whatever, I'm gonna leave this lip here. Maybe. Yeah, I'll leave the lip here so that the water has a little bit more of a barrier to go around if it wants to bypass this. And then I'm going to split this in half so that I can take it up the hill. And now when I go up the hill, instead of trying to carry this, I'll just slip it in here. And now I gather my tools and my camera and hike this all up the hill. And here's everything that I have in my bag. I have my big camera, which is a EOS M6, and my GoPro, the new one, the Black 7, whatever. Tripod, drill with battery disconnected so it doesn't, you know, start spinning in my bag with a trigger. I have a hole saw with a ring for, well, I'll get to that later. Tape measure just because it's a good idea. Hole saw arbor, another drill press, not drill press, another drill bit, a little gardening shovel, because last time I was up there my fingers were really raw. Snack, dish soap. Did I say tripod? And then this is also to cut the collection weir. In here I have the collection weir that I'm going to be putting that uniseal in. That's what that's called. This is it's a uniseal. It's a way of doing a bulkhead fitting. And then I have a piece of 3-inch pipe which I'm going to be using through the collection weir, and I've beveled the end with a table saw, plus a shovel and the barrel itself, plus 2 water bottles. And these tin snips are to trim this to size, instead of taking up my power saw, which is heavy and relies on batteries, which, well, my batteries are very old. Okay, I'm up here at the spring, and we see it's all muddy. Thanks, Shelby. And my August flow measurement is completely wrong. That video is bad. That video is completely useless at determining how much flow there is coming out of the spring, because as we can see under the dog there, there's plenty of flow. I mean, more than just a dribble. And the reason there was a dribble was because I had this filter bucket here. It was right there, but it was missing. I mean, it was right there. So it wasn't in the hole, and it wasn't filtering, and the pipe running down to my hose is clogged up. So whoever was up here did not disconnect my hose, but did disconnect the filter. And it might have been the property owner, I don't know. He knows what I'm doing up here. So no water's getting into the hose. I guess first thing I'll have to do here is to empty that out so I'm not working in a puddle of water. I mean, I won't really be working in a puddle of water anyways, because I should be working up here, up in the spring today. That's what I'll be doing. But it'll be nice to not have, you know, anything in here. I disconnected my hose and it immediately started flowing. So that would tell me that, let's go back up here. That would tell me that this rock wall here is helping to filter a lot of the stuff out of the hole. Now that this is all drained out, we can see a little bit better how much flow is coming out of the spring, and it's all getting collected and run through. I just have this PVC slipped over the black pipe here. You can see how much is flowing out now. So that's steady state. Yeah. More water than was flowing out at the bottom, that's for sure. Well, I'm still an amateur. I brought my GoPro, but I forgot to check if it was charged. And apparently, when I was transferring files off of it last, I left it on. So we don't have any GoPro. We have Canon M6 on tripod. So what I'm going to try to do is dig a channel across the front of the spring here that I'm going to put the collection weir in. And that will hopefully help me collect all of the water. So the weir has to be keyed into, ooh, do you see that pattern? That's really cool looking. So the weir has to be keyed into the sides. I'm going to try to key it in as far up as I can. And not disturb any downhill or down water material. This doesn't seem like it would be the most waterproof material, unfortunately. I'm going to try to use clay to seal it up. And the further I can key it into the ground, the further the water will have to travel to get around my collection weir. Some good clay material. I'm gonna have to start collecting clay. Yeah, you try digging in clay with a garden trowel. That doesn't work. Left-handed. Now right-handed. While that's draining and clearing up so I can visually inspect, I'm going to work on digging a small trench coming out here that I'll end at the barrel here. And the point here is that coming out of the spring there, let me get down to the approximate level of it. So coming out here will be the top of the barrel. So I think I'm going to put it right about here, which kind of sucks because it's not flat at all. I'm going to have to dig it out enough to put the barrel in there without it wanting to fall over. I'd like to thank the following contributors. You guys make this sort of thing possible: Alex Benz, John Amdor, Jonathan Wright, Tom, Alex, David Fitzrandolph, Hans Petter Feld, I'm sure you like me trying to say your name every time, Jack Splatter, I'm not sure, Johnny Tollin, Nicholas Humphrey, Richard Shaw, Jesse Defer, Lucas Langenegger, hopefully I don't get demonetized for that, Luke Waters, Strictoaster, DeFera, if I can pronounce that right either, Brian Jackson, Christine Salter, IT Gardner, John Marcus, Kyle Gilmar, Michael C. Darcy, Norbert Hobbs, Patrick Wagner, Scott, Sean O'Connor, Tyler Bisbee, Marius Tatard, and Adrian Cohen. Also, I do accept PayPal contributions, and Paul Shawgard, your very generous contribution was appreciated, and it's bought a significant portion of the materials for this project. Well, the water hasn't had a chance to settle, and we can see what it looks like in here. I need to get out all of the loose material because that could hinder a seal. And then I'm also going to dig further back up in there on the right side, and that's where my main collection pipe is going to be. I hope I don't have to come back in the future and add a secondary pipe in case the main pipe doesn't have enough flow. So from there it's going to run down right here where I have this cut out here, and then it's going to run. I have to cut into this hillside a little bit here and then a little bit there, and then it's going to run into that 55-gallon drum. Alright, I'm working on fitting this, and I have a little place marked here where I'm going to put the hole. I've already test fit it, and it pretty much fits. But there's one thing that I forgot. I want to have an overflow from this, so if the main pipe gets clogged or freezes up or just isn't enough for the flow, I want to have another overflow that's just a little bit above my outflow pipe. That will allow the pressure to be relieved so it doesn't build up pressure in the form of water and then blow out somewhere. So I need to go get more uniseals, which I have down at the bottom of the hill, and more 3-inch pipe. And while I'm getting more 3-inch pipe, I'm going to get enough to run, because I only brought a short little bit for up in there. I'm going to run another, or bring more, so that I can run it down all along the edge here. And here's a good clay deposit that I've been digging out, and I'll probably dig out that more to get more clay, which I'm going to use to seal around my collection weir that'll go there. Well, since that last clip, I've made 2 trips up the hill on the same day. So it's still the same day. I went to Lowe's and I got some pipe, and a bunch of fittings. And I came up here with the pipe. And as I was walking up, I was like, man, I forgot the screwdriver for the Fernco fittings. And then I got up here and I was finished drilling these holes, and I'm like, well, now I got to put the uniseals in, and where are the uniseals? Turns out I had forgotten my bag of PVC and whatever pipe fittings down below. So I had to walk down and get them again. So that's 270 feet times 3 now that I've walked up today. Also, since I was down there, I charged my GoPro. So here's some dish soap that I use for lubricant. Just make sure that's clean. And put a little bit of dish soap on there. And a little bit of dish soap on the pipe. And then I push it in. Just like that. All right, that's good. I need to cut this. What are you doing, Shelby? Oh, chipmunk. I need to cut this pipe off because I have a T on this end. So I'm going to split it up into 2 branches so I get more collection area. And then off of this end I'm going to put a Fernco fitting because there's a slight angle change over there between the pipe and this. And I wanted some way to connect it in a way that won't jostle any of this too much. So I think that'll be okay there. And yes, I am collecting all of my trash. This is the outside, and this will go on the inside. And so I'm going to have a little bit of a collection off to the left there, and then a Fernco fitting here connecting to that. And then this is going to be the overflow. And here's all the collection stuff. I have the main collection on the bottom with the T going off to the side. And then I also have this top one. You can't see it, but there's holes in the bottom side. And this is the overflow that I hope would relieve pressure. And if it gets any higher than like halfway up, it's probably going to go around the sides anyway, so I'd only put holes in the bottom half. I have to line this trench with clay first, and then I'm going to try to bed this in the clay and then pack clay on both sides of the weir in an effort to make it watertight. I don't know if it's going to. I might have to do this once or twice more. I hope not. I guess that clay has softened up some now, so I can try, or not try, but I will fill in more clay around the perimeter there. Okay, I guess I forgot to note that part of the reason for building this rock wall was to have a nice place to work. So I just, this is where I sit or stand as needed on this rock. I have, I think, stopped the water flowing around the collection weir. If you guys can see that. It's kind of dark in here. The camera's making it brighter than it is. And here's the water that I'm collecting. I wish I had made this section coming out longer, but whatever. it'll be okay. Because I guess part of the plan here is, if I made that longer, then it comes out a little bit further, and then I can fill that in with dirt, and I'd still have access to the coupling as needed. But I guess it's okay. Or no. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll just leave that Fernco coupling there. And I guess I'll put my GoPro on now and try to film a little bit of packing more clay in. But first I have to harvest more clay. I've used all the clay that I have. So I need to dig more out of the hole here. I guess another comment here is, this clay coming out is really dry. So I put it in this bucket and I let it soak for a few hours, and that really softened it up.
Is that wrong? Thanks for searching for any kind. All right. That's tiring.
go down a little bit on this end. That's good. While that's soaking, I'm going to add some additional plumbing to my barrel here. I want some way to hook my garden hose up to the barrel in the meantime until I get the big penstock pulled up. Oh, that's what that looks like from the other direction. I guess maybe I can stick the camera in the hole and see how direct it is. Pretty good. So I brought up, remember my green barrel? Well, I have that. I'm going to put it in here, and that'll allow me to hook the garden hose up to this. And then I also have an additional stuff to cap that big hole in the bottom. So this is the filter bit that goes inside. It's going to go in this orientation. Big disadvantage of a 55-gallon drum is that you can't reach the bottom too easily. Like I have, well, that's the wrong way apparently. I have fairly long arms. And of course I can't reach the bottom. So that seems snug there. Should be good enough. I can tighten it later if needed. And then here's my hose adapter. And of course it's frozen on with rust. There we go. Oh, that's not good. It's clogged with dirt. Okay, that's better. There's my garden hose hooked up. Now I have this stubby piece that'll be the main feed. I might replace this with something else later. And then I also have a cap and a cap. Let me get my deburring tool. Make sure that's clean. Put that in there. Give it some lube. Give this some lube. There she goes. And I forgot my glue, so it's gonna friction fit for now. I suppose I'm going to be connecting this so I can leave this out for now. The cool thing about these uni-seals is they're reusable. So if I wanted to reconfigure this, I could. Although then I'd be left with big holes. So reusable to the extent that the uni-seal itself is reusable, but not necessarily what it was put in. I forgot to deburr this You might say it's not necessary to have an airtight or watertight seal on the intake, but mostly it's to hold the pipe in place so it can't get pulled out easily. I think I can just dribble some of this on here and make it work. Sometimes they're easy, sometimes they fight. There's something I can bash against this. We'll try the American method. There we go. American method worked. Now again, I forgot my glue. I wanted a way to divert the water away from this barrel. And I think the best way that I came up with, this isn't a permanent solution, is a tee like this with a cap in it. So this would be my method of diverting the water away. And I'll have to reconfigure this at a later time to move this, I think, way up there, just so the water's not dumping around my, presumably if I'm working in it, my work site. Still a tiny leak. That one's leaking too. So I have some cleanup to do, shoveling bits of pipe. But that's how I'm going to leave it for like maybe a week or two to make sure that the clay is diverting all of the water. And then I'll backfill with gravel and front fill with, I don't know, dirt, maybe. So we can judge the current effectiveness of this by looking at how much water is bypassing the weir. And I don't know if you guys can see in there. There's no water there. There's no flowing water. This water's just kind of pooling here. It's been about 5 minutes, so it's all dried up. And we can verify that it is very dry, or that we're capturing the majority of the water by looking at this. I think this is just draining that pit still. I'll come back to this before I leave to make sure we are collecting all of the water. And this is really soapy from all that soap that I used. Now I have a few additional comments about what I've done here. 3-inch pipe is, I realize, maybe a little bit small to carry 30 gallons per minute. So I have sloped it a little bit more than I had intended, actually. I sloped it maybe a foot and a half over 15, 18 feet. So that should flow a lot more water at 0 head pressure. And the 3-inch should be sufficient. I didn't want to go up to 4-inch because, well, first I had to carry everything up here anyways. 4-inch uniseals are expensive, more expensive than the 3-inch by a lot. 4-inch fittings are expensive. And it's just more to deal with. So I'm going with 3-inch. Now, a big reason why I did this collection method as opposed to what was there previously, and like this pipe, and there was some, at least 2 other pipes that I was able to see in there, is this is environment free. So it doesn't touch the environment at all, and that should all be filled in there. And I'll probably put a plastic bag over it too to keep any surface water from flowing in there. And it should be a lot cleaner water with less silt, less mud, less sticks, no leaves. Well, no sticks and leaves. We'll get a better product out of it. An additional method for doing it this way is I have an extra 3 feet of head height there. And from this barrel we could do a lot of different things. I also plan on putting a electronic level sensor in here with a wireless transmitter that will allow me to monitor the level and therefore the flow rate, the outflow rate, to adjust my valves accordingly. At least that's my plan. I also cut an overflow in it in case I shut this off or it gets blocked for whatever reason, so it has somewhere to drain out of. I ran out of uniseals. I need to get some more uniseals for this overflow then. Here it is. I've cleaned up quite a bit. I left some extra parts up here. Might do some other stuff. I'll modify the configuration. Mosquito, jeez. This has dried out even more, as further proof that we are collecting like most of the water. That's what's left coming out there. And I put a cover on this. And that's hooked up to my garden hose. It's the next day, but last night when I came down the hill, this was open and nothing was coming out. There's still, oh, there's a little bit of water in there. I'm not sure where that water's coming from. But I'm gonna have to go up the hill and see where there's a break in the line or a clog and do something about it. Okay, I'm up here the next day and let's look at how things are doing. It's kind of hard to see. There's still a little bit of water trickling into here from around there, and I'll come back to that in a little bit. But this is working great. You guys see in there, it's really hard to see anything. I know. There. So that seems to be collecting water just fine. My clay here is still moist and drying out a little bit. Underneath the main white pipe here, there is no water flowing. So I am catching all of the water that comes out of here, I'm pretty sure. And the rest of the water that's flowing into this bucket, we can see that down here. Yesterday when I left, I emptied this bucket, and when I came back it was filled. And we can see it's dripping a little bit of water. And then my collection barrel here, I turned that up so it doesn't leak. Of course I can't do anything about the bottom one, but I brought some Teflon tape to seal that up. So I presume because there was so much dirt in the end of this, and the adapter that I took off there was actually full of dirt too, that the hose was hooked up to. I presume it's just clogged with dirt. Also at the bottom we saw that some water shot out, so a little bit is leaking past. And so I'm going to start from up here and I'm going to check every one of these fittings to see if they're clogged. We can look in here and see what it looks like too. Except that's a two-handed job. And here we are. It looks perfectly clear to me. It's kind of hard to see the bottom there. But yeah, it's pretty clear. I just had a Bumble Bee fly at my shorts and try to sting me. Luckily I thwarted it. Normally they don't sting, but this one was persistent. Ugh. Wow, there was a lot of stuff in there, and it did sting me. I don't know what's going on there. I think it's sucking water. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. But it is still filling up. I'll take the hose off and see if it's flowing. I think it's going. I guess another thing I could do is take off. Ah, pretty wet. I could take off the filter and see if it's trying to suck through the filter. No, it doesn't seem to be sucking through the filter. Alright, I'm going to open this up and put some Teflon tape on it. Hold your breath. Someone else on YouTube suggested using the gray tape here, and it should provide a better seal with less wraps. These are probably not supposed to get Teflon tape ever, but I can't put a whole lot of torque on that pipe, so tape it is. And I'll stop there. I guess the Teflon also reduces the friction, allowing me to get it tighter without twisting this. I mean, it'll go further in with less torque. An interesting observation is it's squishing the hose from suction. I can feel bubbles going through the hose right now. I found the clog up there. It was like 3 or 4 union fittings down from the very top. But as I was setting up the camera, it decided to unclog itself. So sorry, no footage. Okay, let's take a more true flow test now that there's no plugs in the line. starting now. And we can see that it's bubbling because it's pulling air from above. It's full. Also, this bucket has a crack and a leak on the side, so. This video is long enough, so here's the outro. I do have the pressure gauge on there, and I just put a cap on here that has a hole in the end. So the only way I can measure the pressure right now, well, I could replace the cap, but I'll just put my thumb over it, and then we'll see what the pressure is. Wow, stop. There, you're stopped, finally. And it's coming out at 118 psi. Each one of those divisions is 4 psi. So, here we are. Like, comment, subscribe, Patreon, PayPal, Amazon. See you around.